Alrighty, we are back in the belly of Penn Live for another grand PA High School football report, the 34 Waggle Edition podcast. He's Dan Sostek. I'm Eric Epler. Wow, we have punched through count them, 5 weeks of the regular season in high school football already. That's pretty impressive considering we were like August 2nd at Media Day. We're going, man, I don't think the season's ever going to get here. We're already halfway through the regular season. The air is starting to chill down, which is nice. I think it's officially fall now, right?
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah, I'm wearing long sleeves to games. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I downloaded some rickety calendar, so I don't ever know if it's right. I normally don't know what day of the week it is, but we're in good shape. So let's get after it once again, Dan. First things first, you were supposed to have a fine addition to our very undecorated, non-decorated. What I say, non-decorated.
Yeah. We're writers. Yeah. We're professional
right.
writers.
We'll look that up later.
Yeah.
Or make up the word. Studio here. You were supposed to have an addition. Where's the addition to our lovely studio?
It's sitting in my beautiful Five Below backpack that I use for football games. It is sitting right at home. It's a beautiful kind of plastic megaphone from the Cocoa Bean Bowl this Saturday. A really fun game. It says 2023 Cocoa Bean Bowl on it. And, yeah, it's sitting right at home instead of on camera for you guys. But we will make sure to get it next week. And Mark Zerby, if you're somehow listening and you have any extras,
get us a couple extra Cocoa Bean. What do they call them?
I think Noisemaker, Megaphone.
There you go.
They're cones. They're little yellow cones. A little fun little addition at the game there. I'm hoping to get some more knickknacks.
I mean, this is the feel bad for us version, before we get into it, because there's nothing. We have nothing on our desk. I don't even know what happened to the mini upper dolphin football.
I think they
I brought in last week.
They came and repossessed it.
I don't even know what happened to it. Maybe maintenance took it. They're playing outside. I have no idea.
Yeah.
What we love to do, obviously, Dan, here at Penn Live, is once we hit the midpoint of the season, we love to recap the first 5 weeks. All the good bits we've seen at the midseason mark. And we do that by passing out some midseason awards. Now, we don't have the budget for a red carpet. They don't trust us with running something like that anyway.
We got a little red right here.
There's a little red on the desk here. We don't actually give out any tangible awards for this because, again, that's an expense, and we're not going to be able to write that
We'll give you
off.
a nice handshake if we see it at a football game.
Right. Well, congratulations if you on a job well done.
Yeah.
If you get one of these awards. But anyway, first of all, I want to get your take, Dan, before we get into it, the midseason awards. We got 10 awards to pass out on the podcast today. I want to get your take. This was the most important thing that happened this weekend in sports. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Give me your thoughts on that possible connection.
I mean, why missing in Kansas City? Just
there you go.
They can't quit each other. First it was Chad Henne playing for the Chiefs for however many years, and maybe Chad Henne put in a good word to Taylor. Maybe the family friends know each other. Said, hey, listen, he's a really good guy. You might want to make your way up to Arrowhead, and I mean, it's kind of beautiful, to see. I've seen Taylor Swift fan accounts on Twitter tweeting out the rules to football.
Yes.
So Taylor Swift fans can follow along and watch watch football with them. Which, I mean, if you're a real Taylor Swift fan and you're from Why Missing or one of those areas, you should know what football is because they know football up there. But it's always funny when these worlds collide, and I think that was the highlight of my week, seeing a 10-line tweet from a Taylor Swift fan account explaining you have 4 downs to get 10 yards, and these are the moments that kind of make everything kind of seem silly, but
I enjoyed all the huff from actual writers and reporters in football saying, wow, this broadcast, how many times are going to show Taylor Swift in the press box when there's actual football being played?
There was an actual football being played because the Bears were playing.
Right, the Bears were playing, number one. Yeah. Number two is, that's the point.
Yeah.
The whole point, it's in the script.
Yeah.
Show Taylor as many times as you can.
I mean, the last time I think this really happened was the Carrie Underwood, Tony Romo stuff.
Yes.
That was pretty big back in the day, too. And I think Kim Kardashian briefly dated Miles Austin. But that's our that's my TMZ brain kicking in a little bit. So.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little disappointed Taylor wasn't wearing a jersey.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe that's the next date. Maybe
a Mahomes jersey.
Yeah,
and then everybody would have lost their cookies.
Again, maybe she just feels too loyal to Chad Henne to wear anything but someone. I mean, I know Chad Henne's not the Y missing grab, but those Berks County people got to stick together.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's get to some awards. Let's have some fun here. I should also note too that best kicker, best water boy, and best concession stand were awarded off camera before we started recording, just like the Academy Awards. Yeah. So we're going to start with best game atmosphere. We're going to have a couple of fun categories first, and we'll get down to nitty gritty with some players and some coaching awards here in the last half. We got 10 awards for you. We're going to start with best game atmosphere, and these are games that we've actually covered, like places we've actually gone. I think we've probably both been 12 to 15 places already.
Yeah.
With the Thursday schedules that has been, so we're probably close to a little more than a dozen games already covered for the both of us. So best game atmosphere, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, if I haven't been to Shippensburg this year, which is traditionally one of my favorite places to cover a football game, despite, I think the locals not necessarily loving
a crazy
the field.
It's a crazy field.
But it's a fun place to cover. But,
yes.
I got two good games this past week. I already mentioned the Cocoa Bean Bowl, so I already gave that game some love. I mean, that's a well-deserved one. But I'm going to go with Big Spring, the Big Spring atmosphere at Bulldog Stadium down there in Newville. In my 2 years here, I guess this is my third year now. I had not covered a game at Big Spring, and I was really impressed. I thought it was an awesome field, awesome environment. Great concession stands. They were out of fried Oreos, which bummed me out. But
that's a bummer.
But yeah. I had a homemade whoopie pie. It was fantastic. They were doing a little tie dye thing out in the grassy hill up there above the field, where all these people were rolling around in red and yellow tie dye. I mean, it's what you want from a Central PA football game. They're going up against Steel High. Last time Steel High came up there, they really took it to Steel High. Couldn't pull out the win this time, but I really enjoyed that Big Spring atmosphere, so I'll go with that over a bowl, over a singular game like the Cocoa Bean Bowl.
Yeah, I love when you come over the hill. The field's on the right. They have great people there running the place, and no one paints each other, the student section, better than those guys. It's behind the press box in the grassy area you mentioned, and they just fly in. They come sprinting into the stadium. 5 minutes before the game. It's awesome. I always think of town fields like that. Too, when you talk about best atmosphere, you could talk about Cottage Hill and Steelton being one of them. Memorial Park's a great town field. Hell, it's behind the town swimming pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great. The train runs behind it. It's an awesome place. State College Memorial Field is fantastic. Sits right in the middle of the residential area, and they just did a whole big redo there too. Yeah. It's fabulous in their bowl. I gotta say though, I was very surprised, and I had not been to Warrior Stadium in Gettysburg for a long time. Yeah. I had not, and I had forgotten. I knew it was at the middle school. I was like, I don't really remember it, but I gotta tell you, just last weekend I was there, and it's a great park, and I typically stay away from fields where there's an 8-lane track around it.
Yeah.
Because if you do choose to cover the game from the press box,
it takes forever to.
You're just far away.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not vertical, so you're even further away. It's like watching a game in Michigan Stadium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The concave bowl. You're a country mile away from the field. Not like Penn State where it's vertical. Yeah. So, but I had a great experience there. The guys in the press box were awesome. And the way the concourse splits the upper half of the home stands and the lower half, it really creates like a great atmosphere. People walk in, and there's the concession stands on the right. It's great. I had a great time there, so I picked Gettysburg. I thought it was one of the best atmospheres I've seen this year, and it obviously was close.
And it's always fun. It's always there's always this vibe in Gettysburg, right? That you're sitting in history. I mean, and remember the Titans. I think was at Gettysburg College, but you can pretend that this is where Strong Side was yelled by Gary Bertier. So
all right, let's move on. This is for us. This is the experience that helps us do our job. This is Best for Press. This is the award that we just created. It's brand new. We're going to trademark it. No one can do it. This involves top press box for us and top crew that works the press box and helps us do our job.
Yep. All right. I haven't been to this stadium this year, and I'm hopefully not going to be there, which isn't a good start to this category. But it's because nothing on their end. It's my cell phone does not get service up in Elliotsburg.
No one's does.
But I'm going Westbury. I mean, they're one of the more First off, I just love it's a very old timey press box. You kind of feel like you're back in the 70s. That stadium is kind of it's a photographer's dream. There's just nothing back there but lights and football. I mean, for me, the thing that helps the most is they just have such a help. There's a lot of helpful press boxes.
Sure, yeah.
But the job that Ryan Anderson's staff up there do, and Devin Whitfield, who keeps stats, Westbury football stats, is probably, I'd say, the cream of the crop in terms of football statistics, Twitter accounts out there, or X accounts, and Devin just does such a great job helping you out. He gives you, before the training game, he gave us a big little piece of paper, almost media notes for the game, which helps us tremendously.
Yep.
Has the stats done right away. It's just I think that they just do a great job, and it's a really good view from that press box as well.
It is. I love going up to Elliotsburg. They treat you like a king too.
Yep.
And there's a lot of groups. There's a lot of places we go. I mean, I'll mention this too a little later. We do get treated very well when you show up to games. At most, 99.9% of the time, it's a fabulous experience, and they help make the transition from coverage to we go to work. Yeah. Most people after the game they're going for ice cream or going home or whatever. You know what I mean? We go to work after the game, so that makes it easy for us. Still, to me, the benchmark is Central Dauphin.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. Foxy's in control.
Yeah.
Andrew's the spotter, and everybody else in that press box is wired just differently. I think you literally, and I've said this multiple times, if you wanted to just keep your head down and writing your stats, you could actually do the play-by-play and keep stats without ever looking up.
It's so true.
We don't do that, of course.
No.
But that's how good they are in calling out numbers and yardages, and everything's like this, like clockwork. But we also have a lot of fun every time I'm there, and the vantage point is fabulous. The stands are not too big. The windows open completely; they're wide windows, so you can even stick your camera out, your phone out, and get good video on key plays and things like that. So that to me has been the benchmark for multiple years now, and I haven't gone to a place where I'm like, wow, this is better.
Yeah.
Still to this day. So thanks for always taking care of us, Central Dauphin, and of course West Perry as well. So all right, let's get the best newcomer, Dan. Mm-hmm. I took some liberties with this one,
I took some liberties as well.
That's all right.
I was considering Zymir Hill from Harrisburg just because he's.
Yep.
I think that's more going to be probably at the end of the year because I think he's going to come on as the year progresses. But I actually went with a senior, which is kind of a little bit backwards for a newcomer. But I'm going with Eric Shriver, running back for Cedar Cliff.
Good pick.
I don't think we even really expected. I was expecting it to just be another year where Michael Jones takes a lot of the carries for Cedar Cliff because he did last year. Mm-hmm. Instead, it was Eric Shriver has been kind of one of their two guys at running back position for them. He's had 468 yards this year, 8 touchdowns. He had the reason he's not technically a newcomer is he had 12 carries in 2021, 2022. Missed all of last year due to injury though. So I feel like 12 carries, you're still kind of a newcomer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Especially because that was, I believe, the year Jonte Morris carried the ball pretty much every single time Cedar Cliff handled the ball. I think those 12 carries must have come when the score was 66-0 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it counts as a newcomer, and he's been very important to what they do. So I'm going Eric Shriver.
Yeah, I think Jonte had 40 carries or more in like 3 or 4 games.
I think he hit 50 for the Shippensburg State playoff.
I think so.
Playoff game.
I think so. He was a hammer.
Yeah.
I took some liberties as well in this one. I almost viewed it as as sort of a comeback, comeback so far. I went with Lime Mountain's Nolan Barmert. Mm-hmm. Barmert was a guy who played 3.5 games last year. Really high ceiling kid. Got hurt, missed the remainder of his year. Came back strong, and really a lot of Lime Mountain's early buzz was because this guy was coming back, because Barmert was coming back, And after Ian Bates had a sensational year rushing the football, now you add Bomber to the equation in the backfield, and it becomes really difficult. And you can understand why a lot of the Liberty Division coaches tag the Eagles as the preseason favorite. On that, they've gone 3-2. Bomber's been really, really good. He's really close to 500 rushing yards. He's got 4 TDs already. But just his presence in the backfield too has made a monster difference for them. So I went with Bomber.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, yeah, the Line Mountain, they're living up to that preseason hype, and he's a big reason why.
Yep. All right. What's next? Okay, I got to look at my list here. Okay, we're gonna go best tandem.
I think this one's gonna be pretty quick.
I think this one will be pretty quick too. Yeah. Best tandem that we've seen so far. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Stone Saunders and Rico Scott. I mean, It's a pretty boring pick. Sometimes we're going to be boring here, and the Bishop McDevitt's strength of schedule has been, at least the first 3 games
pretty good.
Right, it's the toughest probably almost anyone's faced in the division, and Rico Scott's taken his game to another level. Feels like Stone Saunders has as well. 2 SEC football players. It's pretty hard not to top. We could have gotten more creative, pick some other guys, but it'd be kind of dancing around the real answer, I feel like.
Yeah, that is the real answer. I mean, I don't know if there's a better 1-2 punch quarterback to wide out in the state.
No.
Maybe
Hayden Johnson, Landon Kennel.
They would be in discussion. Obviously, St. Joe's Prep would have a couple of guys in the discussion with Samaj Jones, but I just think right now these two seem unstoppable. Whenever McDevitt's in trouble, number 6 is your guy to go to.
That's kind of the thing, right? It's not necessarily the stats. It's more the when things go down, when things are kind of dire.
I mean, everybody knew in that first game against Mount St. Joseph, the Maryland team, that somehow you got to get the ball to number 6. And they tried once or twice on the jet sweep and things like that. And it had everything to do, too, with Mount St. Joseph's 2 defensive ends were kind of containing. Stone had to kind of speed up a little bit. He wasn't on target in the first half at all.
Yeah.
And then when you needed him, 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, boom, game over, they win. I mean, Scott's been phenomenal. He's got 10 of Stone Saunders' 20 touchdown. I mean, Saunders has 20 touchdown passes already. and Rico has 10.
I mean, we're getting ready for a bunch of, records to be broken and things like that.
I mean, there's a couple quarterbacks, Stone being one of them, Alex Irby at Steel High being one of them. Marcus Quaker just set a program mark. Stone just broke Matt Johnson's program mark. Alex Irby's had Steel High's program mark for, I don't know, a year and a half
Probably
now.
since he was born.
Yeah, I think at the end of his sophomore year, I think he had Steel High's record. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in the QB stable for us. It's been exciting to watch, but right now, Saunders and Scott, boom, that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, Dan. Best player in supporting role.
This one was it's kind of a, vague thing for me, but I went with a guy that I think – frankly, if we were doing comeback player of the year, it could have been that too.
Yes.
I'm going with Trey Good from East Pennsboro.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
This kid's just been awesome. I mean, we talked about it last week about how John Dennison talked about how much they missed him last year, and we weren't sure about necessarily. Trey Good has 460 receiving yards and 22 catches this year for an unbeaten East Pennsboro team. That's 20.9 yards per reception. He's also been a tremendous defensively too. I believe he has a couple picks, maybe even 3. Yeah, he has 3 interceptions to lead the mid-pen. I mean, he's not the first guy you mentioned. He might not even be the first receiver you mentioned, with Brecken Swope being such a big play threat for them, and then defensively, Josh Angelo and Keith Oates does it all. But Trey Good is, to me, clearly what has allowed them to take that next step forward and win these close games against good teams. And now they're looking at. They're 5-0 right now.
Yep.
They're not going to. John Dennison's not going to say 10-0, but we can say for him that they could very well be unbeaten by.
It's very possible.
Yeah. So Trey Good's my pick.
That's a good pick. I went with a guy too. And you're right. You can go 15 different directions with this one. Supporting role, whether it's a defender, whether it's a kicker, whether it's I went with a guy who could probably get a Lifetime Achievement Award too. And Gian Perry at Steel High.
One of the most underrated players in the conference.
Again, we mentioned Alex Irby, and obviously you've got a lot of weapons there. Ralph Caesar, is one of them. Ronald Burnett in the backfield's another. So the explosiveness of that offense, Perry almost gets overshadowed a bit on what he means to this program and what he's meant to this program since he walked in the door as a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, an immediate starter, number one. He's lined up in probably 7 different spots between offense and defense. I think he's even punted on occasion. And every time it seems like they either need to step on the gas and put a team away or they need a big play, this guy is there. Yeah. Whether he's rushing the ball or catching the ball. He seems like he's always open. I mean, I don't know what the guy hasn't done for them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And if you put him at nose tackle, he would be really good at nose tackle too, being 205 or 200 pounds or 195 pounds maybe.
Yeah.
So he's just an exceptional player. I think he's got a couple All-State nods, so it's not like he's been completely overshadowed. But in that realm and how successful the Steel High's been, Perry has been really the catalyst.
Yeah, and he's like a supporting actor the way, like J.K. Simmons is or something where
right.
or like Willem Dafoe or where they might technically be a supporting actor, but there are going to be movies where those guys dominate the whole movie.
That's right.
The only thing you remember, and I think that's a good way to describe Jayon Perry's. There are games where he might be a supporting player, but he's going to make the plays that you remember from the end of the game.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. We got a couple more. We'll do them in rapid succession here. Best performance in a leading role.
I'm going Sean Lee last week against Cumberland Valley. Over 400 total yards, I believe 5 touchdowns. I think even by Shawnee's standard, you'd probably say, maybe not quite the start he wanted to, especially after a tough game against Mannheim, but it's completely rebounded, and we've said for a while we think he could be a Player of the Year candidate by the time he's a senior. I think he's right back on track. Him and Elias Koch, they could have very well been our best duo, if it weren't for that Mannheim game, which throws a lot of the stuff off.
Yeah, I also had Sean Lee Jr. in the discussion for this. I had Jared Porter from CD East and his 6 TD performance against Northeastern.
Yeah.
They poured it on. Obviously, Northeastern was completely outmanned. But whenever you tie or break a Chase Edmonds record, that's okay with me because Chase Edmonds was awesome. But I went last week, Angel Cabrera, the running back for Hershey.
I was at that game.
And you were at the game, 258 yards in the Cocoa Bean Bowl, 33-22 win over Milton Hershey. What impressed me the most is, it's a huge rivalry game for them and very important.
And he did that last year in the game, too.
He did it last year against the Spartans as well, so they knew it was coming. Number 2 is, just coming off that Thursday loss to Cedar Cliff, he had an extra 2 days.
Yeah.
9 days to kind of stew on the fact that, your unbeaten record went south, 20-point loss to Cedar Cliff in a game where, Cabrera had some tough yards, but not enough to kind of get track. He never really gained full traction against Cedar Cliff, and that was a credit to Cedar Cliff, of course. But to come back in that situation, get Hershey to 4-1 in a big rivalry game, I thought 258 rushing yards in that was monumental.
Yeah, and sometimes,
and 3 TDs.
And sometimes he doesn't he runs to contact, sometimes to detriment, but in this game it was not to detriment.
He likes the contact.
Yeah.
Loves it.
He loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, best finish for a team. This is the best ender.
Yeah.
Best last couple of minutes in a football game to get a dub. Who you got?
Trinity Westbury. I mean, to get a stop on the 1-yard line against a team that, let's face it, after, there were some comments after the game that kind of led you to believe Westbury was playing with a big chip on their shoulders.
Yes.
To get a stop on 4th and 1 against, I know Messiah Mickens is banged up. I don't really care. It's a 4th and 1 stop against a team that probably has more talent than you, to be able to pull that through and kind of win that game the way they did. I think they'd honestly rather win it like that than win like 28-0 or something.
Probably. Yeah, that's how these guys are, cardiac kids. And I considered Cumberland Valley's OT win against CD East. I thought was very important for that program. They were 0-3. Walking in there, West Perry's finish was obviously on my docket. Middletown's win last week against Cedar Campbell for all of the weight that Middletown's carrying from the lost season of 2022. That was a big, valuable win for them. I ultimately went with Waynesboro, 29-28 over Northern just a few days ago. If you've studied Mid-Penn football and you know the teams, Waynesboro's had just an awful time collecting wins over the years, and to come into Dillsburg, I know Northern's down. They haven't been able to get that offense on track, but to come into Waynesboro to not only score the touchdown, but go for 2, make the decision. I talked quickly to Mark Saunders not long ago, a few hours ago, and he said, listen, we needed to get out of Dillsburg.
Yeah.
We needed to go, and it was the right timing. Midway through the fourth, with a couple, maybe 6 minutes to go in the game, and they held up. Big win for them, and went to 2-3, and that's huge for the program.
And they were up 21-0 in that game too. So if they had lost it, if they had lost it, that would have been a pretty rough.
It would have been tough to come back from for sure. Yep. All right, I think this is we got 2 more. We got 3 more to go. Best director, which is coach. Best job right now.
I think we're in agreement on this one. John Denniston, East Pennsboro. Maybe not, but 5-0 in a way that I don't think we all expected coming out. I mean, because I think we expect they could be 5-0, but not in kind of the dominant fashion they've been.
Yeah, I agree. I picked John Dennison as well. Certainly talked a little bit about Roy Wall at Halifax, Josh Burley at Lower Dolphin. And because they had 5-0 in that kind of schedule, early schedule too, I think you got to toss Jeff Wechter in there as well from Bishop McDevitt. All righty, we got 2 more big awards to go, and obviously we always save the biggest ones for last. Offensive MVP, Dan, you're up.
All right, I was considering guys like Messiah Mickens, Trinity, who's probably been the best player I've seen, but he's been a little banged up last few weeks, and kind of, I wouldn't say sullies his case because he still has a case, but I mean, I'm going Stone Saunders. It's another boring. I feel like anytime you pick Stone Saunders on these things, it's boring because he's a 4-star quarterback who's going to Kentucky, but he's been the best quarterback in the conference, I think. I mean, Alex Irby has a strong case, too. He's been tremendous as well. Going to become the state's all-time passing yardage leader in a couple weeks, probably. But Stone Saunders, to me, is just – I keep saying it, but I believe it. I think he's taken his game to another level, which is a scary thought considering he won a state title as a sophomore and threw 5 touchdown passes. So, I think, just so far he's done exactly what you asked for, and he was already our player of the year last year. So
it was interesting, too, in the beginning of the season against Mount St. Joseph. He didn't have a good first half.
Yeah.
He was off on a couple passes. He seemed rushed at times. There were a couple drops, so I will say that. But you could feel the people panicking, already, in the first 12 minutes of the season.
Yeah.
And then he's just, obviously, since the second half of that game, he's been lights out with a lot of help around him. Rico Scott and Chase Reagan being 2 of the big reasons why he's got these big numbers so far. But I agree. I think you could toss Sean Lee Jr. in there as far as top quarterbacks. Marcus Quaker, you could toss in there. I think you got to toss in there Keith Oates.
Yep.
From East Pennsboro, too, as far as, those 5 guys.
My issue with Keith Oates, I don't know whether to put him offensive or defense.
Or as a linebacker. Yeah, exactly. I might like him better as a linebacker. I don't know. But he's been tremendous, too. So you probably have 7 or 8 guys total that should be in the conversation for that. I went with Quaker out of West Perry. He's never been your traditional quarterback, but he fits brilliantly for that team and that program and for Bob Bowden.
Yeah.
When you talk about leaning on a guy, they have leaned on this kid for 4 years, really. And he's been tremendous. He doesn't buckle. He doesn't mind being physical. He'll lower his head when he needs to. He can scramble with the best of them. I think he's just a perfect fit for that place.
Yeah, I mean, and for my money, I'm not in these huddles. I'm not in these locker rooms.
Right.
I can't imagine there's a better leader of a group than Marcus Quaker is, just because you see what that group's accomplished in Elliotsburg for West Perry. I mean, I think they've had some good teams there, and most notably the Musa Smith teams.
Yep.
There's no Musa Smith on this football team. There's no Division I superstar. I think it's just Bob Bowden has these guys playing hard. Marcus Quaker is the leader on the field that kind of gets everyone going where they need to go. So, good pick.
All right, to finish it off, we'll flip over to defensive MVP.
Yeah, I'm going with the guy I think has been for a while. I think he was kind of a little underrated. I think everyone kind of knows how good this guy is now. He was kind of going under the radar because of the years Terrell Reynolds has had over the last couple of years. But Eugene Green on Steel High, man, that kid is he is so much fun to watch. There's nothing anybody in the Mid-Penn really has for him. I think he still leads the conference in sacks. Just a total game wrecker on that end of the field. We've kind of talked about it before. I think he has a clarion offer. I think he should have more than that. I think he is a next level player and a big reason the Steel High defense is as good as it's been over the last couple of years.
I agree 100%. That kid's been awesome too, and boy, if you picture that kid if he had 25 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
You're right. He can play where he wants to play.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. I went a little outside the box. I picked Cedar Cliff's Nathan Lusk. Not that
Great pick.
Nathan Lusk is by any means a had any shortcomings, but he does so much for them defensively. He's lined up at LLB. He's lined up at safety. He can play pass defense. He's got 3 picks already.
He's the only player in the mid-pen with multiple picks and sacks. So.
Yes, and he's got 4 sacks already. I think he's probably maybe first or second on the team in tackles.
Yeah.
Right around 25, 26 tackles already. He does a lot for them.
And they win with defense.
Yes, and they have won with defense. That's the key. It would be different if Cedar Cliff was putting up 50 points a game and not stopping anybody. But they got to 4-0 because of defense.
And then their performance against McDevitt wasn't. I mean, it gave up 49 points, but against McDevitt, I mean, it's.
Yeah, everybody's going to take a licking
Yeah.
against McDevitt. I mean, it's just that's how it is. They're head and shoulders above everybody else in that division. It is what it is.
I imagine they come back this week. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but I imagine that Nathan Lusk and that defense kind of take out some anger after that.
Yeah, and McDevitt didn't do tremendously great against the run, but it's Saunders and they pick you apart. I mean, that's just what they do.
Exactly.
So I think Lusk has been tremendous for that 4-1 start. So I went with him.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue with the 3 picks they said.
No, I consider Ryan Epps. I think Ryan Epps at Harrisburg, the defensive end, has had a really good first half of the season. He was really good.
Jacob Ness is another guy, too.
Jacob Ness has been really good. He was great against Wyomissing.
Yeah,
absolutely lights out against Wyomissing. So there's a lot of guys we could have picked.
But it's a little different than in years past, right, where I feel like in years past there's kind of a clear 1 or 2 guys like Riley Rebel and Terrell Reynolds last year were kind of head and shoulder. We could also mention Jair Rollison and McDevitt, too.
That's right.
Another guy that deserves some consideration. But it's kind of like that this year, right? There's not this one head and shoulders above everyone guy.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so that'll wrap up this edition of PA High School Football Report. We appreciate you joining us. As always, get out there and watch some football. Bundle up. It's getting chilly. And Week 6 coming up. Enjoy the football. We'll see you guys next week.